So today we're on day 9, which is all about scatter plots and trend lines. This is super easy. It is heavily tested, so you need to make sure you know how to do it. So a scatter plot is a graph that shows a relationship between two sets of data. For example, the temperature outside and snow cone cells. I want to know if it's related, so I gather the data, I plot it on a graph, and if the dots are very clumped up close to each other and making like a line pattern, then there's a relationship. I should have everybody paying attention. Okay, so let's look at the different types of trends. Everybody look at these on the left. Why is this a positive trend?
Because it's going up.
From left to right, it's moving in an upward pattern. Why is this called negative?
Because it's going down.
Because from left to right, it is moving in a down pattern. Why is this called no association? Because there's no trend going on at all. The dots are not making any type of pattern. They're literally just scattered all over the place. So an example of this would be like your height and your grade in math class. They're not related. You can be short and be a really good student, make good grades. You can be short and not take care of business, and you wouldn't have a good. All right. When you have a trend that is positive or negative, you can use the trend to make a prediction. Does everybody hear what I just said? When you have a trend that is positive or negative, you can use the trend to make a prediction. Okay? You have to draw a trend line. It is called a line of best fit that represents or summarizes the data in a scatter plot. So to draw a trend line, everybody look at the steps. You draw a line close to most of the data points. Do not connect the dots. Try to get half the points above the line and half below. So everybody look at this line they drew. I need all eyes on the board. Do you see that about half of the dots are above the line and half of the dots are below? You want it to go through the middle of the trend. Same thing here. Half the dots are above, half are below. Everybody got it? All right, flip to the back. Let's look at what they did here. Now, you're going to have to draw your own trend line. So you can use a straight edge today. You could use the side of your calculator. If you have a ruler, you can use it. On the real STAAR test, it's on computer. You will use the line tool where you can draw a line on the test, okay? All right, this says, the scatter plot shows the relationship between the number of hours that a student studied and the grade they earned on a test. Describe the relationship. So what would y'all describe this as? Positive, negative, or no association? Why is it positive? It's going up. So they put positive association. So the more a student studied for their test, what's tending to happen? Their grade tends to go higher. It says draw a trend line to best represent the data. They already did it for you. Now I have seen students, and I'm going to go to the board to do this so y'all can see. I have seen students draw some crazy trend lines. So everybody look. This is a horrible trend line. Look at my line. Is my line going through the trend?
No.
It has nothing to do with it. I just drew a random line. Okay? So when you're drawing your trend line, you have to make sure your trend needs to go through the dots. Again, if it looks like this, that's not a good trend because I only have 3 or 4 dots above the line. Look at all the dots below. Yes, so I need just as many dots above the line as I do below the line. All right, now we're going to use that trend line to make a prediction. It says, based on the scatter plot, what test grade would you expect for a student who studied 3 hours? So where's hours at? On the x-axis. So I go to 3 hours, which is here. I go up to the trend line. Don't go to a dot. Go to the line that you drew And that is the grade that was expected. So what grade do we think that they would get on that test? An 80. So once you draw your trend line, you're going to use it to make a prediction. They could also ask the question backwards. They could say, how many hours did a student possibly study if they made a 60? So everybody, where would I go? To 60 on what axis? On the Y. I would go here. I would go to my trend line and over, and they probably studied for less than an hour. Does that make sense? So you don't necessarily go to the x-axis every time. All right, let's talk about this one. A teacher created a scatter plot to show the relationship between the number of times their students are late in class to their grade in class. Amelia drew the trend line and predicted that a student with 7 tardies would have 55 in the class. Do you agree? Look at her trend line. Did she draw a good trend line? No. What is wrong with this trend line? There's way too many dots on top of the line, and there's only one below it. So this line should have actually been more like in here. Do y'all see that? Okay, so when you draw your trend line, you actually have to do a good job, or it's not going to help you make a prediction. All right, so I'm going to give you your assignment. When you're finished, you'll get it checked with me one time. You'll turn it into the box, and then you're going to make sure you have day 5, 6, 7, and 8 turned in. Does everybody understand?